Welcome on the channel Voices of Reddit. Today we have an intriguing story about the
My golden child brother ruined my business startup, so I cut off my toxic family. All right, Reddit, buckle up because this is going to be a long one. I'm a 35-year-old man, and I've been running my own small landscaping business for the past decade. It's something I've poured my heart and soul into, starting from scratch and building it into a reputable company in our community. My younger brother, who's 32, used to work for me until recently. We've always had a bit of sibling rivalry growing up, as most brothers do, but I never imagined it would escalate to the point where it could jeopardize everything I've worked so hard to achieve. Let me give you some background to set the stage. Growing up, our family was pretty tight-knit. Our parents always encouraged us to support one another, emphasizing the importance of family above all else. Despite their efforts, my brother and I had our fair share of squabbles. We competed in everything, from grades to sports to who got the last slice of pizza. It was all in good fun, or so I thought. When I was 12 and he was 9, I played a prank on him that, at the time, seemed harmless to me, but apparently left a lasting scar on him. He had this favorite action figure, a limited edition superhero that he took everywhere. It was practically glued to his hand. One day, feeling mischievous, I decided to hide it in the backyard. I thought he'd search for it, maybe be annoyed for a bit, and then we'd move on. But it took him days to find it. And when he finally did, the action figure was dirty, a bit water damaged from the sprinklers, and one of its arms was broken. I remember the look on his face, utter devastation. I felt guilty immediately. I apologized profusely, trying to make it up to him by offering my own toys, but he was inconsolable. Our parents got involved, and I was grounded for a week. I thought that was the end of it, but little did I know that this incident would fester in his mind for years to come. Fast forward to adulthood. I went to college, studied business management, and after a few years of working for others, I decided to take the plunge and start my own landscaping company. It wasn't easy. Long hours, tight budgets, and the constant fear of failure. But with perseverance and a dedicated team, the business began to thrive. We built a solid client base, and our reputation for quality work spread through word of mouth. Meanwhile, my brother took a different path. He dabbled in various jobs, retail, sales, even a brief stint as a musician, but nothing seemed to stick. He struggled to find his footing, and I could tell it bothered him, especially when we were together at family gatherings. While I shared stories of business successes, he often remained quiet or changed the subject. About 3 years ago, during one of our family dinners, my parents pulled me aside. They were concerned about my brother. He was between jobs again and was feeling down on his luck. They suggested that maybe I could offer him a position at my company. Initially, I was hesitant. Mixing family and business can be tricky, but I also wanted to help him out. I figured this could be an opportunity for us to reconnect and maybe strengthen our bond. So I approached him with the offer. "Hey, I know things have been tough lately," I said. "Why don't you come work with me? I could use someone I trust on the team." He seemed surprised but grateful. "Are you sure?" he asked. "I don't have much experience in landscaping." "That's okay," I assured him. "We can start you off with the basics, and you'll learn as you go." He accepted the job, and for the first few months, everything seemed to be going well. He was punctual, eager to learn, and got along with the rest of the crew. I was pleased, thinking this was the beginning of a new chapter for both of us. However, subtle things began to change over time. Occasionally, I'd catch him giving me odd looks during meetings or making snide remarks disguised as jokes. For example, during a team lunch, he quipped, "Careful where you leave your tools, folks. You never know who might hide them." Everyone laughed it off, but there was an edge to his tone that unsettled me. Then about a year ago, more troubling incidents started occurring. Expensive equipment would go missing or turn up damaged. I initially chalked it up to accidents or possible theft by outsiders. We implemented stricter protocols, but the issues persisted. Clients began calling to cancel services without explanation, or we'd show up to a job site only to be told we were no longer needed. Our financials took a hit. Profits were down, expenses were up, and the stress was mounting. I held emergency meetings with my team, trying to get to the bottom of it. Everyone seemed just as baffled as I was. My brother sat in on these meetings, often silent, occasionally offering a nod or a shrug. One evening, After a particularly grueling day, I stayed late at the office going over the books. My brother was there too, finishing up some paperwork. I tried to engage him in conversation. "This has been tough, huh?" I said. He looked up briefly. "Yeah, tough," he replied curtly. "Any thoughts on what might be causing all these issues?" I probed. He shrugged. "Beats me. Maybe we're just not as good as we think we are." I was taken aback. "What makes you say that?" He smirked slightly. "Sometimes things aren't as perfect as they seem, big brother." His words lingered with me, but I pushed the unease aside. Desperate to find answers, I decided to install hidden cameras in both the office and the warehouse. It wasn't a decision I made lightly, and I felt guilty about surveilling my employees, but I needed to protect my business. A week later, I reviewed the footage. What I saw left me in disbelief. There was my brother late at night, deliberately damaging equipment, cutting wires, loosening bolts. In another clip, he was seen accessing my computer, deleting important client emails and altering schedules. He even forged cancellation notices and sent them to clients under our company letterhead. My heart sank. I replayed the videos multiple times, hoping there was some mistake, but the evidence was irrefutable. The next day, I called him into my office. "We need to talk," I said sternly. He sat down casually. "What's up?" I took a deep breath. "I know what you've been doing." He feigned ignorance. "I don't know what you're talking about." I turned my laptop around, showing him the footage. His face went pale. "Why?" I asked, my voice filled with hurt. "Why would you do this to me?" He was silent for a moment, then suddenly erupted. "You think you're so perfect, don't you? The golden child who can do no wrong. You've always been ahead. Better grades, better jobs. And now this successful business while I'm left in your shadow." I was stunned. "Is that what this is about? Jealousy?" He glared at me. "It's about payback. You ruined something precious to me when we were kids, and you've never faced any consequences for anything you've done." "Are you serious?" I exclaimed. "That was over 20 years ago. I was a child, and I apologized." "An apology doesn't fix everything," he snapped. "You have no idea how that felt." I shook my head in disbelief. "You jeopardized my entire business over a childhood prank? Do you realize how many people depend on this company for their livelihoods?" He stood up, defiant. "Maybe now you know how it feels to have something important taken away." I felt a mix of anger and sorrow. "I can't believe this. You've left me no choice. You're fired." He scoffed. "Fine. I don't need this job anyway." After he left, I sat in my office grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. How had it come to this? I decided to call our parents to explain the situation before they heard a distorted version from him. "Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something about your son," I began. They listened quietly as I recounted everything. There was a heavy silence on the other end before my mother spoke softly. "We knew he was struggling, but we had no idea it had gotten this bad." My father added, "You did what you had to do. We're sorry you've both had to go through this." I thought that was the end of it, but soon enough, I started receiving calls and messages from extended family members and mutual friends. Apparently, my brother had been spreading his own version of the story, painting me as a ruthless boss who unjustly fired him. Some accused me of abandoning family, questioning my morals and integrity. An aunt left a voicemail saying, "Family should stick together no matter what. How could you do this to your own brother?" A cousin messaged me, "I heard you fired your brother over a minor mistake. That's cold, man." I was overwhelmed and frustrated. Not only was I dealing with the fallout at work, trying to repair client relationships and fix the damages, but now I had to defend myself against these accusations. I considered reaching out to set the record straight, but decided against it. Engaging in a he said battle would only add fuel to the fire. Instead, I focused on getting the business back on track. One evening, my parents called again. "Your brother is in a bad place," my mother said. "He's been staying with us, and he's not doing well. We think he needs professional help." I sighed. I agree. He needs counseling, maybe therapy, but he also needs to take responsibility for his actions. "Would you consider rehiring him?" my father asked gently. "Under supervision, perhaps." "Would you consider rehiring him?" my father asked gently. "Under supervision, perhaps." I was taken aback. Dad, I can't do that. He sabotaged the company. He broke my trust and put everyone's jobs at risk. I understand, he replied, but maybe if he feels included, he'll turn things around. I felt torn. On one hand, he's my brother, and I don't want to see him spiral further. On the other hand, I have a responsibility to my employees and myself. I need to think about it, I finally said. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the inner conflict. Memories of our childhood flashed in my mind. The times we played together, shared secrets, and supported each other. But then I'd remember the look in his eyes during our confrontation, the bitterness and resentment. I decided to consult a professional counselor to get an unbiased perspective. After explaining the situation, the counselor said, "It sounds like your brother has been harboring unresolved feelings for a long time. While it's commendable that you want to help him, you also need to set healthy boundaries." "Should I rehire him?" I asked. "Only if it's safe and appropriate," she replied. "Perhaps encouraging him to seek therapy is a better first step." I relayed this to my parents, suggesting that they support him in getting professional help. They agreed. A week later, I received a letter from my brother. In it, he apologized for his actions, admitting that he was wrong and that he needed help. He wrote about feeling overshadowed his entire life and how the prank with the action figure symbolized deeper issues of feeling undervalued and ignored. "I know I can't undo what I've done," he wrote, "but I hope someday you can forgive me." I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I wrote back, expressing my willingness to support him emotionally, but reiterating that rehiring him wasn't an option at this time. "Let's work on rebuilding our relationship first," I suggested. Since then, we've started attending family therapy sessions together. It's been a challenging process, unearthing long-buried feelings and addressing past grievances. I've learned that while the action figure incident was a trigger, there were many other instances where he felt overlooked or compared unfavorably to me. In therapy, he admitted, "I felt like I could never measure up. No matter what I did, you were always better, and it ate away at me." "I'm sorry you felt that way," I responded. "It was never my intention to make you feel less than. I wish you had told me." Our parents also acknowledged their role, realizing that they may have unintentionally contributed to the dynamic by praising one child more than the other. While we have a long road ahead, I'm hopeful that we can mend our relationship. However, when it comes to the business, I remain firm in my decision. Trust is crucial, and until it's rebuilt, I can't risk the livelihood of my employees and myself. As for the extended family, I decided to send a carefully worded message, explaining that while I value their concern, the situation is complex and being handled privately. Most have been understanding, though a few remain distant. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for firing my brother and refusing to rehire him despite the pressure from my family? I believe I made the right decision for my business and am taking steps to heal our relationship separately. But sometimes I wonder if I'm being too harsh or if there's more I should be doing.
Thank you for watching. In addition to this story, we have other equally intriguing videos that we recommend you check out.